What precise actions did China undertake to precipitate a staggering $100 billion loss for Intel within a mere 48 hours? The global landscape is currently witnessing a multitude of significant events, and today we delve into these developments. Stay with us as we explore the intricate dynamics shaping our world. We highly encourage you to subscribe to our channel and activate notifications to remain informed. Your support, demonstrated through likes and shares, is invaluable for our channel's growth and reach. Please also share in the comments where you are tuning in from. We love connecting with our global audience. On the 12th of April, 2025, a pivotal event unfolded as China's strategic maneuver caused Intel's market value to plummet by an astonishing $100 billion in just 2 days. This wasn't merely a market fluctuation, it was a direct consequence of calculated policy changes. Intel's stock experienced a dramatic decline, dropping by 18.3%. This significant downturn starkly highlighted Intel's vulnerability, severely impacting 27% of the corporation's total revenue. This incident raises critical questions about the future trajectory of the technology industry and the shifting balance of power within it. How will this unprecedented event reshape the strategies of global tech giants and influence international technological competition? The repercussions are already being felt across the sector, signaling a potential paradigm shift. China dealt a substantial blow to Intel, fundamentally altering the competitive dynamics. On that significant date, April 12, 2025, the Chinese government enacted a far-reaching prohibition, barring government agencies and major state-influenced corporations from procuring microchips manufactured by prominent U.S. companies. This ban specifically targeted industry leaders including Intel, Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, and Micron. This calculated move was far from a spontaneous occurrence. It represented a meticulously planned strategic initiative designed to bolster domestic technological capabilities and reduce reliance on foreign suppliers. The immediate aftermath was severe. Intel witnessed a staggering erosion of $100 billion from its market capitalization within an exceptionally short time frame of 48 hours, underscoring the profound financial consequences of China's decisive action and its potential to reshape global supply chains. What transpired subsequently? The ramifications extended beyond Intel's initial losses. Intel's stock plunged dramatically by 18.3%, a clear indicator of the market's reaction to China's policy shift. This decline wasn't isolated. It triggered a broader market tremor. $100 billion were effectively erased from the market, signifying a massive loss of investor confidence and perceived value. The shockwaves propagated through the financial markets, impacting related sectors. China constitutes a significant portion of Intel's global market, accounting for 27% of its revenue. This translates to approximately $22 billion based on projections for 2024. This heavy dependence rendered Intel particularly susceptible to strategic attacks originating from China, transforming the company into an accessible target for potent economic maneuvers aimed at altering the technological landscape. The consequences of China's actions reverberated throughout the entire United States technology sector, extending far beyond Intel itself. Intel was not the sole entity affected by this strategic maneuver. The sharp decline in Intel's stock value exerted downward pressure on broader semiconductor indices, such as the widely tracked SOXX and SMH exchange-traded funds. These indices experienced significant drops, with SOXX falling by 4.2% and SMH declining by 2%, respectively. This demonstrated the interconnectedness of the tech industry and how the fortunes of a single major player like Intel could influence the overall market sentiment. The incident underscored a critical vulnerability: Intel's excessive reliance on the Chinese market. When this vital market segment was targeted, the entire U.S. tech industry felt the strain, facing considerable difficulties and uncertainties about future growth and stability in the global supply chain. These impacts are not confined solely to Intel, but are indicative of broader concerns affecting numerous technology companies. The situation raises profound questions about the stability and resilience of the global supply chain, particularly for critical components like semiconductors. If the United States semiconductor industry fails to rapidly diversify its markets, and reduce its dependence on single large economies like China, it risks facing a protracted crisis. Such a crisis could manifest as ongoing supply chain disruptions, reduced revenues, and diminished competitiveness on the global stage. The need for strategic adaptation and diversification has become increasingly urgent for American tech firms to mitigate potential future shocks and maintain their position in the rapidly evolving international technology arena. The long-term health of the U.S. tech sector may hinge on its ability to navigate these geopolitical and economic pressures effectively. Make sure to watch this video until the very end, where we will provide detailed conclusions and analysis of these unfolding events. China's objective is clearly aimed at fundamentally altering the global technology landscape. Beijing's actions signify more than just a temporary dispute with Intel. They are part of a larger, long-term strategy. The country has established an ambitious goal: to completely eliminate U.S. manufactured chips from its public infrastructure and critical energy systems by the year 2027. This systematic replacement initiative reflects a determined push towards technological self-sufficiency and a reduction of strategic dependencies. Industry experts forecast that this concerted effort could result in a substantial loss for U.S. chip manufacturers, potentially wiping out as much as $350 billion in revenue derived from the Chinese market by the target year. This projection highlights the enormous financial stakes involved and the potential for a significant realignment of global economic power within the high-tech sector. Achieving complete technological independence, however, is a formidable challenge, and certainly not an easy task for China. It requires overcoming significant hurdles in research, development, and large-scale manufacturing capabilities. Nevertheless, China's strategy towards this goal is progressing at a notable pace. The government is channeling immense resources and efforts into developing domestic chip technology, fostering local innovation, and building a robust internal semiconductor ecosystem. These strong initiatives suggest that China is committed to closing the technological gap. Consequently, the global tech industry may soon witness a major, potentially disruptive shift in leadership and influence. If China successfully achieves its objectives in semiconductor self-reliance, the implications will be profound. Not only the United States, but also numerous other countries currently dependent on U.S. chip technology will inevitably face significant changes and challenges within their supply chains and overall technological posture, forcing a global reevaluation of dependencies and strategic partnerships. Huawei stands as arguably the most significant challenger to the established dominance of the United States in the technology sector. The company has achieved remarkable milestones, notably its successful production of 5-nanometer chips. What makes this achievement particularly striking is that Huawei managed this feat without relying on the advanced extreme ultraviolet (EUV) lithography technology, a capability the U.S. and its allies sought to restrict access to. This accomplishment was something that many experts in the U.S. previously believed was impossible under the existing sanctions and export controls. Huawei's success serves as compelling evidence that China possesses the capability to independently develop and manufacture advanced semiconductor chips without direct assistance or technology transfer from the United States. This breakthrough fundamentally alters the perceived technological balance and underscores China's growing prowess in critical high-tech fields. How could this development fundamentally change the competitive landscape? If Huawei has demonstrated the ability to achieve such advanced chip production for smartphones, it raises the critical question: can the company replicate this success for more complex and demanding applications, such as servers, large-scale cloud computing infrastructure, or sophisticated artificial intelligence systems? This is the pivotal question currently preoccupying technology experts and policymakers worldwide. The potential for China, spearheaded by companies like Huawei, to achieve parity or even superiority in these foundational technology areas carries immense strategic implications. With the demonstrated capacity to independently produce advanced chips, Huawei is no longer just directly competing with established giants like Intel on existing product lines. It is also actively influencing the global market dynamics, affecting the pricing structures and the availability of high-technology products across the globe, potentially leading to shifts in market share and technological standards. If Huawei continues its strong development trajectory in this field, The consequences for consumers globally could be substantial. We might witness a significant shift in the technology market, where Chinese products, powered by domestically produced advanced chips, become increasingly popular and competitively priced. This trend could seriously threaten the long-held market positions of established U.S. technology giants, forcing them to adapt or risk losing substantial market share. The ripple effects would likely extend to American consumers. Major U.S. computer manufacturers like HP and Dell have already announced price hikes ranging from 12% to 17% for computers utilizing Intel chips, partly in anticipation of supply chain adjustments and potentially increased component costs. These price increases are just one facet of the broader impact. Supply chain disruptions, stemming from these geopolitical tensions and technological shifts, are poised to drive up the prices of a wide array of electronic products. This directly impacts consumers' wallets, making everyday items more expensive. Consumers will likely find themselves having to pay more for the products they rely on, not limited to just computers. Other electronic devices such as smartphones, servers used for cloud services, and various high-tech goods could also see similar price increases. This adds pressure to household budgets, making the cost of living for American citizens potentially more burdensome. We are observing price hikes and potential product shortages looming. This is the challenging reality American consumers might face in the coming times, as the global tech and economic landscape continues to evolve under these pressures. China has also made decisive moves concerning its relationships with other key players in the semiconductor ecosystem, namely ASML and TSMC. Is the Western chip industry facing an imminent collapse? China shocked the global markets by halting cooperation with both ASML, the Dutch company crucial for advanced lithography equipment, and TSMC, the world's largest contract chip manufacturer based in Taiwan. From 2022 to 2024, China had heavily invested $75 billion into its domestic semiconductor industry. This massive investment attracted over 50,000 skilled engineers and was coupled with strategic policy decisions, including imposing a significant 84% tariff on certain U.S. goods. Is this convergence of actions signaling the end of Western dominance in the critically important chip industry? The strategic implications of isolating key international partners while simultaneously boosting domestic capabilities are profound and warrant close examination. The decision to cut strategic ties was multifaceted. China didn't merely cease purchasing advanced lithography equipment from ASML and utilizing TSMC's foundry services. It also made the deliberate decision to sever nearly all forms of cooperation with these linchpin companies entirely. This action represents a strong, assertive response to the mounting pressure and sanctions imposed by the United States and Western allies, particularly regarding technology access. In 2025, the Netherlands, reportedly under pressure from the U.S., halted the supply of critical deep ultraviolet (DUV) lithography machines to China. This restriction was requested by the U.S. within a tight 72-hour window. In response, China opted to completely sever ties with both ASML and TSMC, demonstrating its resolve to chart an independent technological path. This move is not merely a temporary reaction, but is deeply embedded within a long-term strategy for China to gain control over the future of its own semiconductor industry and reduce vulnerability to external pressures. China's response to sanctions has been robust and strategic. From the moment the U.S. and Western countries began imposing sanctions aimed at curbing its technological advancement, China did not slow down its efforts. In fact, these external pressures appear to have accelerated the development of China's domestic semiconductor industry. Between 2022 and 2024, the nation invested over $75 billion in research and development within this sector. This substantial financial commitment was aimed not only at achieving self-sufficiency in chip supply, but also at creating a fully independent and resilient chip ecosystem, free from reliance on potentially adversarial foreign technology and supply chains. Furthermore, recruiting over 50,000 engineers, including talent from leading global companies like Huawei, significantly bolstered China's chip research workforce, providing the human capital necessary to drive innovation and production domestically. What stands out most notably is that China is not merely coping defensively with the sanctions imposed upon it. Instead, it is actively retaliating with considerable force. In 2025, China imposed a substantial 84% tariff on U.S. exports, a direct countermeasure against previous U.S. tariffs and technology restrictions. This aggressive move sent shockwaves through the global economy, raising significant concerns about escalating tensions in international economic relations and the potential for further trade disputes. The strategic severing of ties with ASML and TSMC is another key component of this assertive posture. This shift is profoundly impacting global dynamics, disrupting established supply chains and affecting Western companies, particularly ASML, which are now facing significant consequences as their revenue streams from the massive Chinese market have sharply declined due to these policy changes. This complex interplay highlights a major realignment occurring in the global tech industry. China's broader strategy extends beyond semiconductors. The nation is executing a comprehensive financial strategy with ambitious plans to influence global financial markets. It's clear that this strategic shift is not just shaking the technology industry, but is also creating significant turbulence in international financial markets. China is no longer simply reacting to external pressures. It is actively shaping a new global economic order. The country has not only protected itself from the immediate impact of sanctions, but is creating a powerful, competitive force in the global tech industry that challenges established norms. Can Western nations effectively adapt to and withstand this fundamental change? This shift isn't merely impacting China, it's disrupting the entire global tech industry and financial system. Western companies, especially those heavily reliant on Chinese markets or supply chains like ASML, and potentially Intel in the long run, are facing substantial consequences as their revenues decline. This impact extends beyond the core semiconductor industry. China is also executing a broader financial strategy, indicated by its reduction in holdings of US Treasury bonds. As of the latest reports, China holds only around $759 billion in U.S. debt, marking the lowest level in 15 years. This is a clear signal that China is actively decreasing its reliance on the U.S. dollar and the associated financial system. It is shifting towards utilizing other assets and currencies, like the Chinese Yuan and the euro, particularly in international trade and large agreements with nations such as Saudi Arabia, France, and Brazil. These countries are also exploring alternative payment systems, moving away from complete dependence on the U.S. dollar for transactions. This trend suggests a potential fragmentation of the global financial system and puts pressure on the dollar's long-standing dominance, potentially causing instability for U.S. companies and consumers as international transaction costs could rise. The implications of these strategic maneuvers are vast. This shift is not a sudden shock, but the culmination of thousands of incremental, quiet steps taken over years. China's goal is clearly not just to achieve self-sufficiency in semiconductor supply or react defensively to tariffs. It is actively working to build a completely independent technological and financial ecosystem, insulated from Western dependency and influence. Severing ties with crucial suppliers like ASML and TSMC is a calculated part of this long-term vision to dominate the global semiconductor industry and reduce reliance on major Western companies. The global impact is undeniable. This strategic realignment is not only affecting China, but is disrupting the entire global technology sector and international financial structures. Western companies are feeling the pressure, and the shift towards a multipolar financial system, potentially led by the yuan, poses significant challenges to the traditional dominance of the U.S. dollar in global trade and finance. Conclusions. The events analyzed paint a picture of a rapidly shifting global landscape driven by China's assertive and multi-pronged strategy. Firstly, China's calculated moves in the technology sector, exemplified by the chip ban affecting Intel, AMD, and Micron, and Huawei's independent development of advanced chips, demonstrate a determined push for technological sovereignty. This directly challenges U.S. dominance and forces a re-evaluation of global tech supply chains, causing significant financial repercussions for Western companies heavily reliant on the Chinese market or specific technologies. Secondly, China is actively working to decouple its economy from U.S. influence, not just technologically but financially. The reduction of US Treasury holdings, the promotion of the Yuan and other currencies in international trade, and the imposition of retaliatory tariffs signal a strategic effort to build an independent economic sphere and challenge the supremacy of the US dollar. Thirdly, these actions have tangible consequences for global stability and consumers worldwide. Disruptions in critical supply chains, like semiconductors and rare earths, lead to increased production costs, higher consumer prices for electronics, vehicles, and even basic goods, and potentially significant job losses in affected industries, particularly in the US and Europe. The potential for escalating trade tensions and a more fragmented global economic and financial system is a stark reality emerging from these developments. Ultimately, China's long-term strategy appears aimed at reshaping the global order, reducing its vulnerabilities, and establishing itself as a central, independent power in both technology and finance, presenting a complex and formidable challenge to the existing international framework led by the US.